Welcome everyone to CDO Magazine series of one-on-one interviews with CDOs, data leaders, and key influencers. I'm your host, Robert Lutton, Vice President, Sandhill Consultants, and I'm coming to you today from Toronto, Canada, working with the CDO Magazine, MIT CDO IQ Symposium, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Diba Sahu, Senior Vice President and Head of Product for Customer Journeys at Fidelity Investments. Welcome, Diba.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you for having me.
The pleasure is all ours. And if I may, I'd like to start with a couple of background questions to get our audience a little bit more familiar with you. I noted when I was doing my research that you started off as a software engineer, and then you went to a technical lead, and then you moved into strategic business development and financial planning and analysis at Dell. And from there, you moved to Fidelity, where your career really took off over the past 10 years to where you are now the SVP, Head of Product for Customer Journeys, and lead a team of 150 members. So my first question I have to ask is, can you tell us about your journey and how it has led you to the current field of expertise and your current executive role?
Absolutely. Again, thank you for the question. I'd say if I think about my journey, it has been very an exciting and learning and growth and challenging journey for me. I was born and brought up in a small village in India. Really didn't have a lot of access and exposure to a lot of education and all. But I figured out ways to get into one of the top engineering colleges in India. And then actually after my college, I spent almost 5 years in various engineering roles in software engineering, both for large companies, startups in India and California for financial services companies. And when I was in the startup for 3-4 years, we actually had some amazing amount of growth in those 3-4 years, where we grew from almost 50 people to 1,000 people, and really allowed me the opportunity to actually go beyond engineering roles and play bigger business and leadership roles. And I truly enjoyed those roles. And when our startup got sold, I decided to permanently move into the business side. So I actually came to US permanently at that time. I moved to Chicago, did my MBA at Chicago Booth School of Business, which, as you may know, it's one of the top business schools in the world. It was an amazing 2 years. But when I was in the business school, deep down, I always wanted to be like an operator, a general manager, an operator. I dabbled in a few other consulting, other kind of roles, but deep down, I always wanted to be an operator. So after business school, I worked for Dell in strategy, corporate development, finance to kind of really learn some of the strategic skill set. But I wanted to come back to financial services, got an opportunity to join Fidelity, and I have been here for 10 years. I'll be very honest, it has been an amazing journey at Fidelity. I have had different roles, exciting roles. I actually started in strategy roles within Fidelity. And then I wanted to, again, move into a business, specialize in a business. I moved into a workplace investing business that offers 401k plans to almost 30% of the market. And then I wanted to own something. So I started in our business unit as a head of strategy, product, analytics, data science, and all for our client service teams, where I got exposed to our clients, came close to our client service teams, really understood the business well. And as part of it, I really enjoyed the product leadership roles. And I put my hands up and say, that's the role I want. That feels like my calling. It aligns with my goal of doing strategy, but also leading teams and leading execution. And then when Fidelity went through a massive agile transformation 2 or 3 years back, I was asked to take over this role as a head of product for customer journeys. And it's an exciting space where we're truly focused on simplifying, digitizing, and radically transforming our core customer journeys, like basically our client and associate experiences for our B2B customers, where we're a market leading almost with 30% market share. So we've been focusing on dramatically transformation of a lot of the customer journeys. So overall, if I look back, it has been an amazing journey. Fidelity is a great company. I have had a lot of leadership roles, but my expertise in product, in strategy, in data, in technology, combined with leadership skills, has positioned me well to where I am. And I'm looking forward to some amazing contributions in the next 3 to 5 years.
Certainly sounds like you found your purpose, Deva. So congratulations on it. It takes people a lifetime sometimes to find their purpose. If I can ask for our listeners as a follow-on question, you mentioned it just briefly, but I'm wondering if you could outline as SVP and head of product for customer journeys, can you address what that covers?
Yeah, sure. I would say when I started this role, this was a brand new role. In fact, I was hired. We wanted to focus within our company on customer journeys and how do we focus on transformation of the journeys. So when I started, I really actually hired every single person in my team. I defined the strategy. We sold internally the concepts. And then we started to get funding. We built initial capabilities, and then we grew over time. So it has been actually quite a journey to grow from zero, really, to 150 people in the last 2 years, and built my entire team, the culture, the strategy, everything around it. And we're right now a kind of well-oiled machine, really focused on deep execution. But what we do in our role is really, we have our B2B customer journeys that starts from prospecting to onboarding to ongoing servicing until our clients leave us. And there are several journeys, and our mission, our focus of our team is really simplify, digitize, and transform the journeys by re-engineering them and by applying new technologies. So we focus on with our digital capabilities, CRM capabilities, artificial intelligence, data integration, workflow orchestration, cloud, everything to really change our end-to-end customer journeys. So in our team, we have several product teams in a very cross-functional, agile manner. We have product managers, designers, UX researchers, product analysts, data scientists, software engineers, QA, architects. It's kind of a cross-functional group of folks that we lead. And we're organized in squads where every team is a cross-functional group, and they're focused on really changing and transforming individual customer journeys in our B2B segment.
So it's interesting, you talked about obviously organized in squads and how I would, and you mentioned obviously you're really leveraging the agile methodology so you can actually help simplify, digitize and transform the business journey. So from what we can understand, from what you've mentioned, Fidelity Investment is on its digital transformation journey, and we'd like to focus our time during this interview on that particular aspect. If I can ask, how is transformation of the data capabilities playing a key role in Fidelity's digital transformation?
Yeah, great question. So when I think about digital transformation, it is definitely multi-layered. It's a very loose word that you hear in the industry. People talk about this in different ways. But I think about digital transformation, it's actually truly focused on end-to-end customer journeys and in a multi-layered way. If I think about the different layers we have, right? So we have our experience layer, we have the application layer, the data layer, and the infrastructure layer. And then outside of that, in many cases, we actually have a lot of offline engagement, an offline layer where there's nothing digital, right? So as we think about digital transformation, it is really about transforming all layers as well as where things are happening offline, bringing them digitally. So I think the key is it's multi-layered. And then as part of it, a data layer is essential and is very, very critical, especially I would say in the financial services industries. We operate primarily on data and information. If I think about connecting the data layer with other layers, in our experience, we primarily consume information, share data, exchange data. So the data layer is also important to the experience layer. Same thing on the application layer, whether it's transaction processing, applying artificial intelligence, creating insights. It's all based on data either we have in our internal systems or we're getting from our clients. And then we have the data layer. We're actually managing data, storing data, all the data warehousing, lakes, data transformation, data validation, everything we do, that's kind of very, very critical. And then we have the infrastructure layer where whether it's cloud, mainframe, internal, on-premise infrastructure, whatever is the case. So it's important to think about the data as a key part of all the layers. And to be honest, it is kind of a little bit sometimes misunderstood or not well understood by the business leaders. I think people tend to focus a lot more on the experience layer because you can actually feel and look and feel and see. But the real transformation happens across all layers. And to me, the data layer is a fundamental and a critical enabler. Without changing that, it is impossible. It's really, really hard to really do digital transformation.
Can I just delve into that just a quick second? When you say without changing the data layer, so do you have to deconstruct it and reconstruct it into a new design for the application? So what, can you expand upon that when you say you have to sort of reorganize the data layer? I just picked up on a thought. I just asked that question.
Yeah, I think it's a multifaceted approach to that. I think more and more as we capture and store and manage a lot of data, how to make sense of it, how to use this in our experience, how to use this to produce better insights, how to use this to do better operations, all those things come into play. So it's not like you have to redo everything, but a lot of times organizing the data in the right way is important for the right context. So it could involve data could sit in different places, but you could connect them virtually through different mechanisms, right? Or you could use the data for consumption layer differently than the way you'll do that for transaction layer. With today's technologies, I think we have a lot more flexibility that we don't necessarily need to redo the layer, but we can apply technology in the right way to actually get to where we need to go to.
Got it. So reorganization to take advantage of newer technologies, machine learning, artificial intelligence, et cetera, to help benefit the experienced view of the client. So from understanding the transformation of data capabilities, it also involves the transformation or transforming the organization to become a data-driven culture. Could you share with us some of the ways that Fidelity has enabled the data-driven culture?
Yeah, no, for sure. So I would say I think Fidelity has made a lot of strides in the last 5-10 years I've been here to become more data-driven culture. I think culture change is extremely hard as it takes time. It's a long process. But I've seen areas where we have done well and continue to do more and more. You could think about maybe 3 or 4 different aspects. One, just learning and education. Just education on data capabilities, what data can do, how to do it. I think that kind of investment in our associates, in our business leaders has been going on for some time, and we need to continue to go on to make sure that actually how to use data, how to be thinking about data that becomes much more pervasive in our organization, whether to our associates or leaders. I think that's one aspect. Second is around the leadership. I think it's important that our leaders in today's world and in the future are much more data-driven. They make decisions based on data. They're using data for deciding what to build, how to organize, how to operate, and that becomes part and parcel of leadership. I would say we have made a lot of progress. In fact, if I look around my peers, not just within Fidelity, but in the industry, I think it'll be very hard for somebody to lead without being data-driven these days. It's going to be very hard. And then the third thing I would say is around the data measurements, metrics, and decision-making based on data. I think more and more we have seen all the decisions, whether it's design decisions, whether it is sales decisions, whether it is service decisions, whether it is business decisions, everything more and more being made out of data. So focus on measurements, KPIs, metrics. I think I have seen a lot of progress and improvement. We have more to do, but I think I've seen a lot of progress in that area, right? And then the fourth area is around just, again, data capabilities. educating folks on data capabilities. There are always new and new things coming, and making sure that we treat data as an asset, data as a product, and thinking about that way. I have seen a lot of progress. I would still say I think there's more to do because data is such, you can't really feel and see. It is sometimes difficult to get the same level of engagement that you'll get purely from an experience. And how do we constantly educate folks, drive adoption, drive evangelism from our leadership? I think we have a lot more work to do collectively in the industry to make sure that we'll understand this, especially our leadership understands this, and we continue to focus in this area.
So just to summarize on that, data literacy, obviously with data learning and education, leadership becoming much more data-driven, measurements, metrics, and improving data capabilities are the kind of 4 pillars that you build and drive innovation and adoption on. Coming back to actually number 3, which was the measurements and metrics, what do you see as the business value outcomes that Fidelity is driving towards the digital transformation journey?
Yeah, great question. Instead, we have been very focused on transformation of end-to-end customer journeys. And as part of it, the business benefits or the value gets delivered in multi-pronged ways. So first, I would say definitely on client experience and operational efficiency. And in my view, they all go hand in hand. Generally, when there's friction on the client experience side, there is friction in the operation side. But how we have been focusing on measuring our client satisfaction, client experience, scale, capacity, cycle time, straight through processing, a lot of those things in the space of client experience and operational efficiency. That's one. Second, I would say growth or retention of existing customers and revenue, and how we optimize these journeys, whether prospecting journeys, or onboarding journeys, or servicing journeys, to make sure that either we retain our customers or revenue, but also increase. I think that's a measure we focus heavily on, depending upon the journey we're kind of investing in. I think beyond these are traditional kind of business value measures, but I would say there are a couple of other things that come very handy. One, focusing on agile capabilities and the talent and the culture. I think that's also a key value that comes out of this kind of transformation, that we move out of the old way of working and really focus on how to be much more agile. We have the right talent, the right capabilities to really have continuous delivery of value going forward. And then the last thing I would say is really focus on long-term transformation. If you're a legacy company, yes, we can do incremental enhancements. Yes, they're important, but they're not going to move the needle. I think that's a learning from this digital transformation, that you got to think about long-term and how to get there. And that kind of mindset shift happens when you think about transformation. It doesn't happen when you think about just incremental improvements. So I see that is an intangible benefit, even though you can't really measure, but I see, that will take the organization the right path for a long period of time.
Excellent. I appreciate that, Deba. One of the things that you mentioned on, and I agree with you, agile and talent development. And you'd also mentioned earlier on that, new technologies. During the digital transformation process, organizations have been applying new age technologies. Could you share with us some of the new age solutions or technologies and the benefits they're providing to Fidelity?
Yeah, sure. So I would say, obviously we are applying a lot of technologies. I think probably most organizations do, right? Whether it is digital capabilities, CRM capabilities, artificial intelligence, robotics, data integration, data exchange, cloud capabilities, workflow orchestration. I think all those things are in play. But I would say it's more than applying technologies, right? I think the key is the value gets delivered when you actually can combine these and apply them in the right business context. I think in our goals, in my personal goals, I'm much more focused on application of technology rather than the technology itself. An application of technology to really deliver either client experience or operational efficiency or both, or revenues. And that's the hard part, right? I think, to be honest, Applying technology is a lot easier, but really applying them the right way on the right business problem and delivering business value has been our focus. So I would say definitely we're interested in all the different new cool technologies, but focus definitely is heavily on how to apply them to drive either business or client value.
You're right, absolutely right. Business has really no benefit unless it is applied to a business challenge or business solution. Another question that comes up is that a key focus of many organizations, and you mentioned it, is to simplify, digitize, and radically transform the client experience. Obviously, this is a focus area within Fidelity. Could you give us an approach of, how are you progressing? Like, or do you talk about the long transformation, but if you were to sort of say in a timeline of X, we're about 30%, 60%. So where are you? How are you progressing in this on these areas?
Yeah, good question. It's hard to say, put a percentage on a question like this, but I would say in few areas where we think about applying these capabilities, right? So I'm focused on much more B2B customer journeys. So how do we digitize our prospecting and relationship journeys? How do we, let's say, digitization of our client onboarding process, digitization of our ongoing servicing process, application of AI on the core capabilities we're actually using this for, application of our internal workflow orchestration and all. So I think those are the areas we're applying this much more on the end-to-end focus. It's hard to say what we are in the transformation journey because I think this is still a journey, and there are always new things coming. Every 2 years, new technologies coming. So you kind of have to think and operate that way. To be honest, when I think about the transformation, we always focus on solving for the future, not solving for the past problems, because it takes time. It takes 3 to 5 years to actually make meaningful transformation. And by the time you actually get there, there will always be some new technologies. Yeah. There will be new challenges. So we got to think ahead, and that's what we focused on. How to think about the future problems, not necessarily the problems that we have seen, let's say 5 years back. Yes, they're important, but it is much more important to be forward-looking in all these areas.
So just a last question, because I'm noticing the time here, Deba, but one of the questions we'd like to ask our data leaders is if you've made any aha moments that would make you rethink the approach to digital transformation?
Yeah, good question. So I don't think I have a particular aha moment, but a key learning, right? Not learning, but I think maybe a validation. And my advice will be digital transformation is a long game. So it's important to make sure that you're focused on the right problem. You're focusing on end-to-end customer journeys. You're focusing on delivering early wins. You're constantly focusing on execution. Because here's the thing, creating a lot of ideas for transformation is easy. It's a lot easy, a lot in control. Getting those things done, especially if you're in legacy tech stack, legacy culture or processes, is extremely hard. So make sure you set realistic expectations. And this takes time. So play the long game and prepare accordingly, then you'll succeed. If you oversell this and not approach this appropriately, things will fall off. We'll keep changing and swirling and you'll not succeed. So important to understand that it's a long game and play accordingly.
You heard it from Deba, play the long game. Well, Deba, I'd really like to thank you for your time today. We really do appreciate it. Hopefully we can get the chance to come back and do this again.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert, for inviting me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
No, you're welcome. And for our listeners, please visit the CDO magazine for additional interviews. Thank you.